Hi, welcome to my blog and your YouTube channel. Those feature places, events, and people. Who knows, you might be one of them. I'm Joseph Saez. Join us. I feature Venice, Italy in this blog. Venice, city in northeastern Italy and the capital of Veneto region. It is situated across a group of 118 small islands that are separated by canals and linked by bridges, of which there are 400. The islands are located in the shallow Venetian lagoon, an enclosed bay that lies between the mouths of the Po and the Piave rivers. Parts of Venice are renowned for the beauty of their settings, their architecture, and artwork. The lagoon and a part of the city are listed as a World Heritage Site. The Republic of Venice was a major financial and maritime power during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, and a staging area for the Crusades and the Battle of Lepanto, as well as a very important center of commerce, especially silk, grain, and spice, and art in the 13th century up to the end of the 17th century. The city of Venice is considered to have been the first real international financial center, which gradually emerged from the 9th century to its peak in the 14th century. This made Venice a wealthy city throughout most of its history. During my first day of vacation and tour in Venice, I met Ate Kelly Salangad, a long-time friend of my cousin. Ate Kelly was born in Pangasinan and was a teacher in the Philippines before she worked and lived in Venice for many years. Our first stop and a glimpse of the Venice tour is the Palazzo Contarini del Bobolo. It's a small palazzo in Venice, best known for its external multi-arch spiral staircase known as the Scala Contarini del Bobolo, literally of the snail. Then we went to St. Mark's Square to the heart of Venice. From here, we can visit the other main sites. And the best thing to do here is to take 360 degrees panorama photo, feed or run through the pigeons and go people watching. Saint Mark the Evangelist is Venice's patron saint. Sign of this connection can be found throughout the city, with an excellent example being St. Mark's Square. Also called Piazza San Marco, it is Venice's main public square, basically the social heart of the city. There are a bunch of famous landmarks here, like the Clock Tower, St. Mark's Basilica, Doge's Palace, and the Winged Lion of Venice. St. Mark is also home to many public events that have been held here for centuries. You'll find tons of friendly pigeons, although keep in mind that feeding them has been banned. St. Mark's Campanile, or in Italian Campanile di San Marco, is the bell tower of St. Mark's Basilica in Venice, Italy. It also served as a landmark to guide Venetian ships safely into harbor, began in the early 10th century. The tower was slowly raised in height and acquired a belfry and spire in the 12th century. with a profusion of domes and more than 8,000 square meters of luminous mosaics. Venice Basilica is unforgettable. It was founded in the 9th century to house the corpse of Saint Mark after wily Venetian merchants smuggled it out of Egypt in a barrel of pork fat. From perhaps 1063, the present basilica was constructed. The Lion of Venice is an ancient bronze winged lion sculpture in the Piazza San Marco of Venice, which came to symbolize the city as well as one of its patron saints, Saint Mark, after its arrival there in the 12th century. Black spaghetti with Ate Kelly here in Milan,
Ay,
Italy.
Venice.
Venice.
Sabi mo, Milan.
If we told you there was a way to experience an authentic side of Venice without the crowds, would you believe us? The secret lies in getting away from Piazza San Marco and venturing farther out to explore a smaller island strewn throughout the marshy, magical Venice Lagoon. Few people realize that Venice is comprised of a number of different islands, each with their own unique history and identities. Discover candy-colored fisherman homes, secret vineyards, pristine beaches, and picturesque cemeteries when you get off the beaten path and delve deeper into the world's most famous lagoon. Murano was initially settled by Romans and from the 6th century by people from Altinum and Oderzo. At first, the island prospered as a fishing port and through its production of salt. It was also a center for trade throughout the fort. It controlled the on San Erasmo. From the 11th century, it began to decline as islanders moved to Dorsodoro. It has rather had a grand council like that of Venice, but from the 13th century, Murano was ultimately governed by a podesta from Venice. Unlike the other island in the lagoon, Murano minted its own coins. Murano glass making. Murano's reputation as a center for glass making was born when the Venetian Republic, fearing fire and the destruction of the city's most wooden buildings, ordered glassmaker to move their furnace to Murano in 1291. Murano glass is still associated with Venetian glass. Murano's glassmakers were soon numbered among the island's most prominent citizens. By the 14th century, glassmakers were allowed to wear swords, enjoy immunity from persecution by Venetian state, and found their daughter married into Venice's most affluent families. While benefiting from certain statutory privileges, glassmakers were forbidden to leave the Republic. However, many of them took the risk associated with migration and established glass furnaces in surrounding city and further afield, sometimes in England and the Netherlands.
With technique, then after that we will see the making of a little standing voice. So the glass is basically composed by silica sand, soda and potassium. The temperature inside the oven now it's 1200 Celsius degrees. All the colors that are given by mineral. So each mineral corresponds to a specific color. So as you can see, all the items that we produce and we create in our furnace are entirely handmade. Here we don't use any kind of machines, no stamps, no molds. So all the pieces that are created are all one of a kind. Come vedete questo è un lavoro totalmente artigianale, qua non c'è l'utilizzo di nessun macchinario, di nessun stampo. Il vetro che produciamo da Burano da più di 1000 anni è interamente fatto a mano ed è per questo che tutti i pezzi che vengono fatti dai maestri sono pezzi unici e quindi irripetibili. La produzione del vetro è principalmente sabbia silicea o sabbia bianca che mescoliamo a soda e potassio. Questi diciamo sono i tre elementi principali. La temperatura del forno in questo momento è di 1200 gradi, che è proprio a questa temperatura che il vetro si scioglie. Questa sabbia si scioglie, prende uno stato liquido, prendiamo un cristallo. Per aggiungere poi i colori vengono utilizzati ossidi di minerale. Ricordo che qua a Burano abbiamo più di 200 combinazioni di colorazioni diverse. Adesso il maestro andrà a terminare il vasetto, dopodiché andiamo a vedere il cavallino. Das Glas besteht aus Quarzsand gemischt mit Soda. Diese Komponenten schmelzen bei 1200 Grad. Für die Farben benutzen wir verschiedene Mineraloxide, zum Beispiel Blau ist Kobalt, Grün ist Kupfer, Schwarz ist Manganis und alles Glasobjekte hier sind angemacht und sind Einzelstück. Deshalb ist das Murano-Glas sehr besonders. Und die Ausbildung zum Glasbläser dauert 10 Jahre. Okay? Es gibt keine Schule, man muss alles hier lernen. Okay. So now in the monthly show you a little trick, sample trick, just showing you the temperature of the piece. Just put a piece of paper beside it.
Madame et messieurs, bon après-midi et bienvenue dans l'île de Burano. C'est là l'un de notre 12 usines. Généralement dans les groupes à droite on fait les bases artistiques, mais maintenant à cause du problème économique du Covid, seulement les pièces petites avec les petits fours que vous voyez à votre gauche. La première technique que vous avez vue c'est la technique ancienne du verre soufflé, la fait en vase. Maintenant avec la technique moderne du verre solide, il va faire des petites sculptures. Composition du verre, c'est qu'il y a à l'intérieur du four c'est sable de silice sous des potassium qui vont fondre à 1300 degrés pendant la nuit et baisser la température à 1100 degrés pendant la journée pour une meilleure malléabilité du verre, c'est un peu comme du miel entre liquide et solide. Les couleurs on les fait en ajoutant des oxydes de minéraux ou des nitrates, donc oxyde de cobalt pour le bleu, oresignant pour le rouge ou cuivre pour le vert. Vous pouvez faire toutes les photos que vous voulez ici dans l'usine, mais pas après dans la boutique, comme ce sont des pièces exclusives de merveilleux. Après, quand vous visitez la boutique, il y a la possibilité aussi d'acheter, si vous voulez, par des prix d'usine.
Eccola qua, sta finendo la creazione del cavallino, vedete ho creato la testa, ci tirerà fuori le tappe. Con questa tecnica a Murano creiamo le sculture. Tutti gli oggetti solidi vengono fatti con questa tecnica, dove il vetro viene tirato con pinze e forbici e quindi non soffiato. La tecnica della soffiatura è utilizzata per la creazione di oggetti vuoti all'interno, come bicchieri, lampadari, vasi, lampade, piatti. Ricordo che i cavallini che vengono creati dai maestri durante le mostrazioni sono venduti all'interno del nostro negozio per 10 euro. Abbiamo vasetti, piattini e sculture. Eventually we can find all the pieces that we create during our demonstration, these little simple things. They cost 10 euros. We do good packaging of whatever you want to see inside the store, all the little things. So we have the plates, the vases and the sculptures. They are 10 euros. There you go. Okay, let's give a clap to Master Luca. Facciamo un applauso al maestro. Bene, adesso vi invito ad entrare dentro il negozio, ci sposteremo dentro all'interno, vi chiedo per cortesia non fotografiamo niente. Ok, now you can see, you can start to move inside the showroom, you can follow my colleagues.
Murano's glassmakers held a monopoly on high-quality glassmaking for centuries, developing or refining many technologies, including optically clear glass, enameled glass or smalto, glass with threads of gold or aventurine, multicolored glass or millefiori, melt glass or latimo, and imitation gemstone made of glass. Today, the artisans of Murano still employ these centuries-old techniques, crafting everything from contemporary art glass and glass jewelry to Murano glass chandeliers and wine stoppers. Venice kept protecting the secret of the production of glass and of crystal, but notwithstanding it, the Republic partially lost its monopoly at the end of the 16th century because of some glass makers who let the secret be known in many European countries. Today, Murano is home to the Museo del Vetro or Murano Glass Museum in the Palazzo Giustinian, which hold display on the history of glass making as well as glass samples ranging from Egyptian times through the present day. Some of the companies that own historical glass factories in Murano are among the most important brands of glass in the world. This company include Benini, Alessandro Mandrusato, Piero Murano, Barbier and Tosso, Simone Canedese, and Seguso. To protect the original Murano glass art from foreign markets, the most famous glass factory of these islands have a trademark that certifies glass-made product on the island of Murano. As the famed modern art collector Peggy Guggenheim, who lived in Venice, once said, "It is always assumed that Venice is the ideal place for a honeymoon. This is a grave error. To live in Venice, or even to visit, it means that you fall in love with the city itself. There is nothing left over in your heart for anyone else." Venice is indeed one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It has romantic scenery, historic buildings, and serene canals. The sinking city, as we know it, built on the Mediterranean lagoon, can provide an adventurous romp through Italy's architectural and cultural history. Wandering down Venice's labyrinth of cobblestone streets, you can delve into the off-hidden corners that inspired some of the greatest artists of our times. Ernest Hemingway and Thomas Mann, among others, work in Venice. If you're looking for a little inspiration of your own, here are the lesser-known Venetian island, far away from the tourist traps. Torcello, the oldest part of Venice. It takes about an hour to get to Torcello by Vaporetto, home to the famed 12th century Cathedral of Santa Maria Assunta and the Church of Santa Posca. You can scroll across the Ponte del Diavolo to find a forest reserve. The Cathedral of Santa Maria Assunta, founded in 639, still stands today, featuring colorful mosaics to gaze into on sunny days, including 11th and 12th century Byzantine work. Ernest Hemingway spent time in Torcello in 1948, where he wrote across the river and into the trees at the Locanda Hotel. Today, the often celebrity-filled hotel is still owned by the Cipriani family, who established it here in 1934. Nearby, the Locanda Cipriani restaurant served traditional Venetian cuisine. The world-renowned Bellini cocktail, Prosecco, and peach nectar was invented in the 1930s by Giuseppe Cipriani. Torcello is a sparsely populated island at the northern end of Venetian Lagoon in northeastern Italy. It was first settled in the year 452 and has been referred to as the parent island from which Venice was populated. It was a town with a cathedral and bishops before St. Mark's Basilica was built. History. After the downfall of the Western Roman Empire, Torcello was one of the first lagoon islands to be successively populated by those Veneti who fled the terra firma, or mainland, to take shelter from the recurring barbarian invasions, especially after the Attila the Hun had destroyed the city of Altinuman, all of the surrounding settlements in 452. Although the hard-fought Veneto region formerly belonged to the Byzantine Exarchate of Ravenna since the end of the Gothic War, it remained unsafe on account of frequent Gothic Sarmatian invasion and wars. During the following 200 years, the Lombards and the Franks fueled a permanent influx of sophisticated urban refugees to the island relative safety, including the Bishop of Altino himself. In 638, Torcello became the bishop's official seat for more than 1,000 years, and the people of Altinum brought with them the relics of Saint Heliodorus, now the patron saint of the islands. Burano. This island is a dream filled with canals and summery. Rainbow homes painted in purple, yellow, and red. An archipelago of 4 islands linked by bridges. Murano is known for handmade lace from the Vaporetto stop Fondamenta 9. It takes roughly 40 minutes to get there. The Venice Lace Museum, or Museo del Merletto, outlined the intricate lace history in the historic Palazzo Podesta of Torcello in Piazza Galuppi, which was once known as the famous Burano Lace School. Leonardo da Vinci visited the island in 1481 or 1481 when he purchased a cloth for the main altar of his masterpiece at the Duomo di Milano. And while Pisa is the Italian city with the Leaning Tower, the famous church of San Martino in Murano has its own leaning campanile. Stroll past the 13th century Church of Santa Caterina and check out the local restaurants as the Trattoria Al Gatto Nero, which serves fresh seafood and homemade pasta. Burano is a small island in the Venetian lagoon. In fact, Burano is a series of several different islands, all linked with bridges. It is located just 7 kilometers from Venice and can be reached by boat or ferry. The trip takes about 40 minutes. The island is mainly famous for its lace work, and there are several shops here where beautiful lace clothes can be bought. In the 16th century, the island grew in popularity when local women started making lace, and it was soon very sought after by people throughout the country. The population of the island is today close to 4,000 people. Attraction in Burano. Houses. Burano is mainly famous for two things: its lace and its colorful houses. These houses are quite small, brightly painted, and are extremely popular among European artists. There are some famous artists who own houses here, including Philip Stark. The color with which house to be painted is decided through a well set up system. When a resident wants to paint his or her own house, an official request has to be sent to the municipality, which first considers the set of approved colors for that part of the island, then approves or disapproves of the suggested color. Because of this practice, the island can be divided in defined areas characterized by certain color schemes, a fact that makes it different from any other place in the lagoon. Good morning. Today is Friday, August 1, 2020 and 9:20 in the morning. And right now I'm here in front of the apartment of Ate Kelly Salanga from Pangasinan, and
She worked here in a casino for many years, soon to be retired. And with me is Amy, her pamangkin, niece. And this is the building, apartment. Anong lugar na place is this?
Palanca.
Palanca. I think
Giudeca,
that's her
Palanca.
room. Diba yun ba? That's her room. This is yung door. And
the door.
the door. And then ito yung...
This is the bell.
Oh, that's the bell. Salangad. Yeah.
During my first vacation in Turin, Venice, I was accommodated in the apartment of Tita Kelly. With Tita Kelly is her niece, Amy de la Cruz. They both take care of me during my stay in the apartment on Palanca, Giudeca Island. I had the chance to experience the process of laundry my clothes, and they were dry in the Italian style. Clothes were hanging in the rope in both ends of the building and being maneuvered by hands. While at Giudeca Island, I had experience to explore the Palanca area. Even though Giudeca lies directly in front of Venice and the Vaporetto ride takes only 3 minutes, it is often ignored by visitors. The small island is, however, perfect to escape the crowds in Venice. It has a lot to offer, so it's worth to stay on the island. If you take the Vaporetto from Satere to the Palanca, stop at Giudeca, you can use a cheaper ferry ticket of €5 instead of the regular ticket of €7.5. Giudeca was originally an area characterized by large palazzos with gardens. In the early 20th century, it evolved to an industrial zone with shipyards, factories, and even a film studio. Since the decline of the industry after World War II, it is now a quiet residential neighborhood. This evolution resulted in a wide variety of interesting buildings, ranging from church to warehouse and from palazzo to refugees' houses. There was a time when Giudeca was considered a leafy Arcadia, a semi-rural retreat from the medieval Manhattan just across the water. Jacopo de Barbari's famous map of Venice, published in 1500, showed the long, thin island, actually a string of 8 islets separated by canals, divided up by verdant formal gardens, orchards, and vegetable plots, some belonging to private palazzos, some to convents and monasteries. It was only in the late 19th century that this little strip of paradise began to change. It became Venice industrial state, home not only to boatyards and artisans' workshop, but also to some of northeastern Italy's largest factories, as well as niche luxury goods makers such as the Fortini Textile Works and showroom, which will soon celebrate its 100th anniversary. Food Giudeca. There are several good restaurants in Giudeca. Prices are consistently lower than in Venice, but higher than in most other cities in Italy. Most restaurants are located in Giudeca on the promenade on the north coast. From here you have a great view of the nearby old town of Venice. In the Trattoria ai Cacciatori, you sit directly on the footpath at the sea with a great view to the old town of Venice. Among the appetizer or antipasti, you can find such interesting things as tuna tartare with pistachio and leeks. As a main course, you can try squid in Venetian style or black sauce, as well as monk fish with fresh tomatoes and basil. The restaurant ai Cacciatori is not quite cheap, but certainly a great culinary experience. It also tastes good in the restaurant and pizzeria El Sandro in the interior of the island. There are, among other things, about 40 different pizza for 7 to 11 euro, which are served in beautiful garden. There are some fast food restaurants and bakeries on the island of Giudeca. The bakery Maher has a great bread and pizza pieces to take with you. Actually, the island consists of some smaller islands which are connected with bridges. Where the name Giudeca comes from is not quite clear. It was once planned to settle Jews on Giudeca, or Italian Giode. Maybe the name comes from that, but the Jews were never settled. Giudeca used to have a lot of industry. Some of it can still be seen today. In the far west of the island, for example, there is gigantic former pasta factory, so-called Stacchi Mill. In the meantime, the building has been rebuilt into a big hotel, typical for Venice. In 2007, the Molino Stacchi Hilton Hotel Venice was opened with almost 400 beds. The building also houses a modern Congress Center with a capacity of up to 1,500 guests. The island of Giudeca had and has some very prominent inhabitants and guests. Michelangelo lived here for several years. A long street in the east of Giudeca bears his name today, called Calle Michelangelo. Elton John is said to have a house on Giudeca. Also, George Clooney was seen, according to a local man, several times on the islands. Saint Mary of the Rosary, known as One Geswati, an 18th century Dominican church on the Giudeca Canal in Venice. The classical style building has a well-lit interior and is exceptional in preserving its originally layout and Rococo decoration intact. The church and almost all its sculpture and paintings were created within a 30-year period. Construction began in 1725. The church was consecrated in 1743 and the last sculptural decoration was in place by 1755. The Church of Gesuati, the biggest conventional complex of the 13th century in Venice, was built between 1726 and 1735 for the Dominicans to replace the church alongside that had become too small for the faithful. The Dominicans took over the Gesuati, from which the name of the church derives, in 1668, when the order was suppressed. Giorgio Mazzari was the architect who designed the church and the internal decoration, with the collaboration of two great artists of that time, Giambattista Tiepolo and Gian Maria Morlarter. The three gained justifiable local fame for the remarkable work done here. The interior of the building strikes for its noteworthy harmony. Particularly interesting is the ceiling decorated by Giambattista Tiepolo with three frescoes that represent the apparition of the Virgin to Saint Dominic, the institution of the Rosary, and the glory of Saint Dominic with various monochromes. This, along with the other works housed in the church, make this one of the most interesting and complete examples of the Venetian art epoch. Other important artists such as Giambattista Pizzetta, Sebastiano Ricci, and Gian Maria Morlater additionally contributed in various paintings found in the church. Of great importance is also an altar piece by Jacopo Tintoretto, restored by Giambattista Piazzetta, depicting the crucifixion which derived from the church next to it. Rialto Bridge, Italian Ponte di Rialto, stone arch bridge crossing over the narrowest point of the Grand Canal in the heart of Venice. Built in the closing years of the 16th century, the Rialto Bridge is the oldest bridge across the canal and is renowned as an architectural and engineering achievement of the Renaissance. It was designed and built by Antonio de Ponte and his nephew Antonio Contino, following a design competition in the city. The first bridge at that location, known as Ponte della Moneta, was a wooden pontoon bridge designed in 1178 by Niccolo Barattieri. The structure was rebuilt in 1255 and 1264, and following a number of collapses, was eventually replaced by the Rialto Bridge to provide better access to Rialto, the primary financial center of Venice. The bridge served as the only fixed structural crossing the canal until the 1850s. Prior to that, pedestrian crossings at the other location were done by gondola ferries. The Rialto is a central area of Venice in the sestiere of San Polo. It is and has been for many centuries the financial and commercial heart of the city. Rialto is known for its prominent markets as well as for the monumental Rialto Bridge across the Grand Canal. Famously known as Ponte de Rialto or the Lover's Bridge, the elegant masterpiece connects the sestiere of San Paolo and San Marco and is one of the city's most significant attractions. Since its construction as a pontoon bridge in the 12th century, Rialto Bridge has been facelifted several times to stand out as the best bridge in Italy. In fact, the 500-year-old bridge gets its name from Rialto, which is the first district of Venice to have developed as the commercial and financial hub of this burgeoning city. Because the Rialto Bridge was once the only place to cross the Grand Canal on foot, it was especially master-crafted with a 7.5-meter arch and 12,000 wooden pilings that would hold up to heavy use and allow boats to pass underneath. Did you know that the bridge's chief architect, Antonio della Ponte, Anthony of the Bridge, competed against the likes of eminent Italian designers such as Michelangelo, Sansovino, and Palladio for the contract?